Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to our SAT problem solving, data analysis, and Heart of Algebra preview. I am so excited to be working with you guys tonight. We're going to be running through a lot of really good practice. We're going to be working together as a team to understand these concepts, and we're gonna beat this together, guys. We totally got this, and we're gonna take our time. And we're gonna learn a bunch of material. So, very excited. Just taking a second to introduce myself for those of y'all who might not know us as well. My name is Elias, and I am a first year at Bowdoin College, planning on studying history and sociology. Fun fact about me, I have 4 cats at home. I don't have that. That's numbers related. There we go. It's math. You want to introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Jahangir. I'm a first-year pre-medical student at Texas A&M University, and we're just going to go through the SAT math. Excited to help you guys.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Just to test things out, I put a poll on the side. Hope you guys like my hyper-specific polls because y'all are going to have to deal with them every stream that I'm here. But yeah, take a second and just get yourself used to the polls because we're going to be using that to check in and such. But just as a little reminder, follow us on every single social media to ever exist. All of them. I'm kidding. I don't think we exist on MySpace. But we do exist on TikTok. We exist on Instagram. We exist on YouTube, and we exist on LinkedIn. My personal favorite is LinkedIn, just because it looks a little silly alongside the others. But we share memes. We share relatable content. We share reminders, and we share tips and tricks. If you're feeling stressed and you just need an emotional boost, or if you just need a boost of confidence, we are the place to come. Also, for those of y'all who aren't Cram Mode members, you should definitely join the committee of Cram Moders. We have practice questions, and we're constantly adding more. We have full Cram finales. Tonight, you're here with us for a preview. We have full 2 to 3 hour streams. We have the full Cram finales. Those are like a party. If you're not there, then you are a square. I was trying to think of a fancy math word to say for square. Couldn't think of one in time. We could have just sat here in silence. We have study guides, we have cheat sheets, and we have study plans. And if you're a part of our fancy little committee of Cram Moders, you can have first access to new features. Also, just as a little reminder on our community agreements, be respectful, be supportive, be patient, and be kind. Last time I was aware, everybody here is human. I really can't prove that because I'm on this side of the screen and you guys are on like that side of the screen, but I'm really hoping you guys are human. Ideally, that would be nice. Are you a human?
I think so.
You think? What do you mean you think?
No, I have a pulse and everything.
Okay, well that's good. That's close enough, right? Sure. I have a pulse too. I also breathe and blink. I assume you guys do as well. So treat us as such. We feel very human emotions, and we're here to help you guys with your very human emotion of anxiety, which is totally fair, but we're going to help you guys get through this together. All right, agenda. We're already done with the welcomes. We're done with that. I'm going to take you through the SAT math basics, and then we're going to go into some content. We're going to do some linear equations, inequalities, and functions. We're going to do some system of equations and inequalities in context, and we're going to do some practice together. We got a whole quiz. Those of y'all who are longtime Fiveable fans, you guys know the music that'll play. You guys know. And it's part of our jam. But let's get into our academic mindsets. Academic weapon mindsets, even. Academic tank. What's SAT math? What is it? So, it's a little more complicated than the ACT. Those of y'all familiar with the ACT, or come to our ACT streams, y'all know you don't need a 3x6 table, but we do in this case. So it consists of 2 different sections, non-calculator and calculator. Your non-calculator section is going to be your shorter of the 2 sections with 25 minutes and 20 questions. This means you get a little bit over a minute per question, 1 minute and 15 seconds to be exact, or 1 minute and a quarter. Fractions, decimals, I got it. Don't worry, guys. With this, you get 15 multiple choice questions, which are the questions where you get 4 and you pick one, and then 5 grid-ins, which are figure out the number and you fill in the bubbles that are like, there's like 10 of them per row. And then the other one, the one that people tend to like a lot more, math with calculator. This is my favorite section because I didn't buy this for no reason. You get a little bit more time per question. They're accounting for the time it's going to take you to navigate your calculator. And with this one, you have almost double the questions. You have 30 multiple choice and 8 grid-ins. This section's a lot less scary for people, but keep in mind, those extra few seconds might not be enough to fully account for how long you're going to take on your calculator. So be aware of the functions your calculator can give, and be able to do them quickly. Also, fun fact, guys, you get a reference sheet. Now, we're not saying memorize it, because at that point, why have a reference sheet? But familiarize yourself with it. Understand what it's trying to communicate, where formulas are, understanding it just very generally. Understand the number of degrees. It tells you that at the bottom there. Understand the number of radians. All this information is immensely helpful in calculating, especially with geometry, but know where to look so you don't spend a minute figuring out, where's a pyramid? What's a pyramid? I've had times where I didn't know what a pyramid was. Don't go into the test with that mentality. All right, so SAT Math as a whole has 4 different sections. And tonight we're going to be focusing on the top 2, Heart of Algebra and problem solving and data analysis. Tomorrow will be more focused on the passport to advanced math and the additional topics in math. But to start off, for Heart of Algebra, we have 19 questions. And this is going to be consisting about 19, give or take. It's not going to be exactly 19, most likely. So, Heart of Algebra is going to be focusing on linear equations, systems of equations, and functions, notation, and interpreting values. Basically, linear equations, how they interact with each other, and numbers in general. Your other section that we'll be kind of talking about today is more problem solving and data analysis. Ratios, percentages, and proportions. How much of why is important? Reasoning with data. This kind of gets into some of the Heart of Algebra stuff when you're looking at linear graphs. Where do they intersect? Do they ever intersect? Would they ever intersect? Using statistics and probability, my favorite topic in math, and modeling data, again, kind of goes back into Heart of Algebra. You might notice that there's some overlap. That's why it's important to have a strong foundational understanding, and that's what we're going to do tonight. Do we have the slides available? One moment, I can get those shared out. Jahangnar, do you want to put in a thing for the slides? Awesome. We will make a call to action quickly with that. But just to make you guys aware of the other 2 sections, we're going to go quickly over them. Passport to advanced math is a lot of polynomials, integers, and radical exponents, quadratic, a lot of graph stuff, or understanding polynomials as a whole. Your other part is additional topics in math, and that's just their fancy way of putting, like, planes and geometry and complex numbers, because they're like, we really can't fit this elsewhere, or it won't make quite all the sense. So they add this section in. There's not a ton of questions on it. There we go. So I'm going to pass this over, and we're going to get into some of the content. You guys ready for this? I know you guys are.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into linear equations, inequalities, and functions. So let's first start off by having a little bit of a warm-up, because what we're trying to build up to are those systems of equations questions. And those are one of the questions that trip up most students. So let's look at this question real quick. So we have, if 1/2 x plus 3 equals 5, what is the value of x? And I'm going to give you guys some time to put the answer in chat, but just remember, just as a little bit of a hint, you want to remember PEMDAS. So I'll give you guys about, let's say, 30 seconds. Are we getting some answers? Okay. All right. So the answer is 4. Now let's see how we get to that answer. So we first want to look at obviously PEMDAS, and we want to subtract the 3 over because we're isolating for that x. So we want to isolate that x by subtracting 3. So when we do that, we get 1/2 x equals 2. And then to move that 1/2 over to the other side, we multiply by 2 to get x equals 4. So you guys are right, x equals 4. So that was a pretty easy one, just to give you guys sort of warm up. Now let's move on to some linear word problems, and these are the ones that sort of trip up many students. So let's look at this question, and if you guys want to, you can drop your answer in the chat. And as you can see, the concession stand at a high school baseball game sold bags of peanuts for $2.50 each and hot dogs for $3 each. If the concession stand bought in $196 and sold 42 hot dogs, how many bags of peanuts did the concession stand sell? All right, so I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds for this question. And when you're ready, just drop your answer in the chat. One of the things that I do first is sort of identify my values. Like peanuts, I have for $2.50 each, and then hot dogs for $3 each, and then concession stand brought in $196 and sold 42 hot dogs. So then just from there, I'd want to set up a linear equation. So I'm gonna give you guys about, give or take, like 20 more seconds. Okay, we got our first answer. Let's get a couple more answers in. All right. Okay, so we got a couple answers in the chat, so let's see if you guys are right. So first thing, like we said, we want to basically note which one is which. So peanuts, we can note it as P, and the total amount of money we're making is the hot dog money plus the peanut money. So then from there, we have our total, which is $196, as you can see from here. So then we already know that that's a total, and all we have to do is, since as you can see, it says hot dogs for $3 each. Now, this each part is very important because this shows a rate of change. This is when you basically have to know that this is your, you could say, X value. So it would be like 3X for this example. And our X is basically the amount of hot dogs we sold. And then from there, we have $2.50 each for our peanuts. So that word each basically tells us that it is a rate of change, and we know that we have to put 2.5x, and our x is obviously p, and we're trying to find p. So from here, it's just basic PEMDAS. We subtract the 126, get 70, and then 70 divided by 2.5 is 28. So you guys are right that the stand sold 28 bags of peanuts. Now, one of the things that you could do is that you could check your work, and you can plug in 28 to that p function for the peanuts, and all you have to do is 3 times 42 plus 2.5 times 28, and you will end up with 196. So this is a really good strategy you could use, double checking your answer, plugging that answer back into the equation. All right, now let's talk about systems of equations and inequalities. We just talked about linear equations and inequalities, so that was more of an easier part of this whole, I guess you could say, SAT math. All right, we got one question. Can you show an easy way to divide by the decimal number 2.5? So for this question, so you're asking, okay, 70 divided by 2.5. Honestly, I don't think the College Board will give you this sort of question and then ask you to solve it without a calculator, because I would solve with a calculator. But one of the things you could do is double the number, and double the number being divided and then divided by 5, which basically means that if you multiply 70 by 2 and 2.5 by 2, that's going to be, what is it, 140 divided by 5, and 140 divided by 5, you can basically write that down, do division, and then 140 divided by 5, it should be 28. So you could just double those answers, double the values that you're given in order to divide. But then again, College Board, most likely, I can't say now, I can't say for certain because it's been a year since I took the SAT, but most likely College Board won't expect you to divide 70 over 2.5. Now, I can't guarantee that, but most likely they won't ask you that without a calculator. So let's talk about the systems of equations. All right, so we just want a quick warm up. So this is a little bit more complex than the linear questions in that we have two x values. So I want you guys to solve this question. Isolate the x and find out what x is in this question. And whenever you have your answer, drop it in chat. Okay, we're getting some answers. All right. Give you guys about 20 more seconds. All right, we got a couple more answers. All right, so let's see how we can solve this. So obviously we want to use PEMDAS. And from there, we want to distribute that 3 over to x and -6. So what's going to happen is we're multiplying 3 times x and 3 times -6, which will obviously get us 3x minus 18. And we want to isolate for the x, and how we do that is we can move the x to the right side and the 2 to the left side. So when we do that, we get -18 equals x plus 2. And the reason why is because we subtracted 3x. So we just subtracted 3x for right now. Then we're going to subtract that -2 to the other side. And that's going to get us -20. So you guys are right. X is equal to -20. Now, what about this question in systems of equations? Now, we're actually getting to the questions you might see in SAT math. So I'm going to give you guys about 40 seconds or so to answer this question, and we'll go over it. And whenever you have your answer, drop it in chat. One of the hints that I'd give you guys is look at the x and y and see which one is easier to isolate for. Because with systems of equations, you're trying to isolate the x or the y and then plugging that value back into the equation to find your x and y. All right, so we're getting a couple of answers. Some of them are different, some of them are similar. So I'll give you guys about 10 more seconds. Okay, so when solving systems of equations, you want to look at either your x or your y and seeing which one you should isolate for first. Now, with the SAT math, you're obviously not going to have a lot of time. So you really want to look at which x or which value, which I guess you could say independent variable, or which of the x or y is much easier to isolate for. And if you guys have experience with systems of equations, this should really come natural to you. And it's that you should isolate the x first, because as you can see, you have a positive y and then you have a negative y. So then you could just solve this right here. So it would be 3x equals 7, and then x will equal 7 over 3. So this is the easier way, but let's just say you went through the harder way. Let's just say you were trying to isolate for y, so you have to cancel out the x's. Well, to do that, you need to multiply -2 by this entire equation up here, because we're trying to take out that 2x. And what plus 2x equals 0? Well, that's obviously going to be -2x. So that's why we're going to have that -2x distribute over to all sides, and we're going to have -2x minus 2y equals -6. So then from there, our x's will cancel, and we add our y's, and our y's will be -3 equals -2. And then from there, y is going to equal 2 over 3. Now, as you can see, that took a lot more work rather than just going at the systems of equations and basically solving it from there, because y minus y is going to equal 0. So then it would be 3x equals 7, and then that'll be 7 over 3 equals x. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, we're going through the harder way of solving this. So with that y, we want to plug it back to this equation over here, the top equation, because that is much more easier to solve compared to that 2x minus y, because if we plug in 2/3 to that y over here, it's going to be 2x minus 2/3 equals 4, and then we're just going to have to add the 2/3 over and then divide by 2, which is a lot more work compared to the first equation, where all we have to do is just subtract 3 minus 2/3 to get our answer. And once we do that, we get x equals 7 over 3. So your answer should have been x equals 7 over 3, y equals 2/3. And if you want to check your answer, 7/3 plus 2/3, 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3. So that's one of the things that you have to pay attention with systems of equations, and it obviously takes practice. One of the biggest advice or messages I give you guys for being prepared for the SAT math is practice really makes perfect. Even in some of my college classes, I'm trying to think of every single, I guess you could say, problem that I'd be solving. I'm taking biological calculus, so I'm thinking of what implicit differentiation problems would I go through? What related rates problems would I go through? So I keep going through every single one of those questions, so then when the time comes to actually solve those, I will be prepared to solve those questions. So with systems of equations, it is just practice makes perfect. Even math in general, it's pretty much practice makes perfect. Now, it's good to know how to solve those problems, but then from there, if you really want to study in your math topics, it's just going through as many practice problems as you can, going through as many, I guess you could say, ways of the problems, maybe some very difficult problems, maybe something moderate. Just try to think of any problem that would be on the SAT math or any sort of math test that you have in the future. All right, so what about solutions for systems of equations? Well, for this one, the questions are basically going to give you some sort of a graph. Maybe it's a quadratic function, maybe it's a linear function, or anything like that. Now, if there's two linear functions as seen in the systems of equations, then with no solution, those two lines are going to have the exact same slope. That is why they are parallel. They can have different y-intercepts, but they will have the same slope. And this is why those two linear equations will never cross, because they have the exact same slope. For example, if we had x plus 2 and x plus 3, just as an example, those lines would never cross, because with that slope, that slope is the exact same. So no matter what value we put for our x, we're never going to have the same value on our other equation. Now, what about one solution? Well, as the title basically states, you're obviously going to have one solution, and this is basically when those two linear equations cross. And when would those two linear equations cross? Well, they would cross at some zero or at some x where the y's are the same. So they're going to have the same root, same zero, or same solution. Those are three vocabulary words you really need to know for just solutions in general. Zero, root, and solution are the exact same thing. Those are basically, and then it'll ask you like, what's the zero of these two equations or anything like that. Or if it doesn't ask you that, what's the zero of this function? What's the root or solution of this function? That's when it crosses the x-intercept. But if you have two of those linear equations and asked, what are the solutions for these equations? Then obviously it's going to be when those two lines cross. Now, with infinitely many solutions, those two, I guess you could say, equations have these, they're pretty much the exact same, and they go through all real numbers. So that's pretty much solutions for systems of equations, and it might ask you like a quadratic function that goes across the x-intercept, and that's usually like two solutions, because when you're solving for quadratic functions, like let's say you have y equals x squared plus 4. Let's say you have something like this, y equals x squared plus 4. So that is a linear problem, and obviously what we want to do is try to factor that through. So what multiplies to 4 and adds to 0? Okay, I think it's the better question is y equals x squared minus 4. So then from there, it would be x plus 2, x minus 2. So then we'd have two of the solutions. So let's just go with this example. X squared, y equals x squared minus 4. So that is a quadratic function, but as you can see, we have two solutions. Our solutions are x equals -2 and x equals 2. So that's why when you see those quadratic functions, you're always going to have those two solutions because they go across the x-axis 2 times. And even if it's something like this, where the bottom of the quadratic function is touching the origin of the graph, you're still going to have two solutions. So that's another thing to know. And with cubic functions, which usually, that's not a good drawing. Let me, here. So we have a graph right here, and we have something like this. A cubic function would maybe look something like this, and you'd have 3 solutions. So those are just some of the things that you need to know for SAT math and just solutions for systems of equations, looking at graphs and whatnot. So let's move on to some Q&A. You guys have any questions about SAT math, anything we reviewed? And
No, not Q&A yet. Not to impede, but it is my turn.
All right, you got it, Elias.
You know what was on the agenda before the Q&A, friends? It's muted. Wow, it's not gonna play now. This is despicable. I tried to make a good entrance. Samoa, that's what started playing. So, I'm sharing a link, and I am sharing a screen. I can't share the screen. I need you to stop sharing so I can share the screen. There we go. See, this is, I use the power of my brain to get it to work. There we go. Scan that QR code. Scan that QR code. Punch in that link. Join us. I will wait a bit. I know we have friends on multiple different screens. Oh. Try using your phone. If your school computer is blocking it for some reason. It should still work on your phone perfectly fine. I've done it before. Do you have any separate devices? Yeah, we're getting emojis. I love when y'all throw up the emojis. I want everybody joining. We get a few more people in. All right, I'm going to start up our first question. You guys can still join, don't worry, same link. I'm just going to start us up. Nope, that looks well enough for me. Got a quarter of the answers in. Wow, that jumped up. All right. Almost everybody's put in an answer, so I am going to reveal in just a moment. Wow, amazing, you guys. So yes, a system of equations that has infinitely many solutions is going to simplify to the same solution, or the same equation twice. These, they might look like completely different system equations at first glance, but quite literally, if you take one of these and just multiply it by -1, you have the same equation as the other side. And since it applies to everything and you're not having to change any one specific variable, it's going to be the same equation, just looks a little different. All the rest of these, you would only be changing parts. This x, you would have to figure out how to deal with that on its own. This y, you would have to figure out how to deal with this on its own. These this 3 and this 5 and the negative and the plus, that's like that's just a whole different thing. But this can be easily changed to this using one coefficient for the entire equation. Make sense? We good? I'm not seeing any complaints from Crowdcast. Let me check my YouTube friends. Okay. I think we are all good. So, next question. All right, we have a good number in. Try and get as many up there as we can. I will reveal once I see fit. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, I'm gonna reveal us. I'm going to do a moment of reveal. All right, so we are a little split between C and D. So in this case, you can do this totally by hand, but I'm gonna show you on the calculator just for the sake of speed. When I see a question like this, you could theoretically solve it out. It's so much faster to just plug things in this case with a value. So let's look at C and D. If we're plugging in 1, we want to get a y of 5. Or for D, if we plug in 2, we want a y of 1. So let's test C first. So -2, since our x value is 1, we're going to put in 1, plus 5. That y, here, I'm going to throw myself on the side actually real quick. Interesting. 3 does not equal 5. Fun fact, I mean, I don't know if you guys know that. Might be some, graduate level math there. But take a second. -2 times 2, since our x in this case is a 2 for D, plus 5. Whoa! 1 equals 1. You can totally do this by hand. -2 times 2, that's going to equal -4, plus 5 is going to equal 1. -2 times 1, -2 plus 5 equals 3. 3 does not equal 5. 1 equals 1. You can totally do that by hand as well. Calculator was just done for the sake of speed and understanding. But really, just plug in your answers. Whatever seems to make sense. For example, looking at these answer choices, A would be immediately scratched off for me because -2 times 3 is -6. Plus 5 is not going to bring you anywhere near -12. So, hoping everyone is good with that. Seems we are doing all good. Awesome. All right. You guys got this pretty quickly. So, let's look. 100%. Perfection. You guys are doing great. So yeah, add 5 to both sides, get rid of the negative 5 on the left. That's going to put you with 3x is greater than 15. Divide both sides by 3. Since you're not dividing by a negative, you don't have to switch the inequality. All good. Perfect. You guys killing it. Y'all are amazing. I'm big. I should not be big. There we go. I'm small again. Where's Samoa? Give me the music. That's heartbreaking, guys. I'm actually heartbroken today. This is heartbreaking. Making sure we don't need any help on the YouTube side of things. These seem good. It's very strange seeing a delayed version of myself on the YouTube. I gotta say. Okay, let's get one more. Oh, okay, we're good. Oh, we're a little split on this one. Okay, awesome. So, in this case, what I prioritize is not having to divide or multiply by a negative if I can at all avoid it. So, we have 4x on one side and 3x on the other. I'm going to do a simple little negative 3x, negative here. Let's make me big and let's write this out. Y'all are getting paper, Elias. Nope, that is the wrong side. 4x. 3x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 3. Again, I don't want to deal with multiplying or dividing by a negative, so I'm just going to subtract 3x from both sides. Going to leave us with negative 5 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 3. Okay. Wonderful. Now we got to get rid of the negative 3. So just plus 3 to both sides. Negative 2 is greater than or equal to 4x. Okay. Awesome. I might be goofing. Jahungner, did you run through this question? I think I might be goofing something up on my end, to be completely honest right here. I'm not sure if you were listening or not.
What's the following solution?
Is a solution.
Should be negative 8.
What?
Is it?
The only reason I'm asking is because theoretically with the answer I got, which is clearly incorrect, negative 1 could also work as an answer.
Negative
it's just
1.
X has to be less than negative 1/2, which is negative 1 is still less.
Well, the answer is clearly negative 2 because
No, really.
Because yeah, when you subtract 3x, you're gonna get x on the. Let me write this out. You're gonna get.
Oh my gosh, I subtracted 3x and I didn't subtract it from the 4x. Hey guys, gentle reminder when you're doing your work, always double check, because if you'll look at my work, I very clearly tried to subtract 3x from 4x, and then I continue to say 4x. That is where
Yeah.
my confusion came from. It is, in fact, -2.
Yeah, because you should have solved it something like this, where you subtract the 3x minus 4x, so you're going to get x. Then you add the 3x to the other side, so you're going to get -2. So the answer is -2.
Awesome. Thank you. You helped me see my little goof up on my work. Guys, I am here to quickly say this is why you always want to check over your work. Everybody makes mistakes. I am a high school graduate going to a nice college, and I still make mistakes on basic algebra. It's okay. That happens to the best of us. Always make sure you double check. Ooh, a word problem. Oh my gosh, my dorm door has been open the whole time. I'm still here. Oh my goodness. Guys, don't worry, my dorm neighbor closed it. We're so good, guys. As Jessica said in the Crowdcast chat, dorm life for real. A few more responses in. We're gonna get a couple more answers in. If not, I might. Oh, okay, we got one more. See if we can get to 10. Okay, let's reveal. All right, awesome. So, one larger bookshelf, 6 shelves. One smaller, 4 shelves. Each box holds 6 cases. Okay, we're writing this out. I can't verbally explain this to you guys. I'm going to make myself bigger. Awesome. For the large bookshelf, 6 shelves, 3 boxes. 6 times 3, 18. Small. Small. 4 shelves, 5 boxes each. 20. Together, you have 38 boxes times 6, because we're looking at the number of file cases. So, doing that the long way, just to show that we can do this without a calculator. 6 times 8, 16, 32, 48. 4. 6 times 3, 18 plus 4, 22. 228. Bada bing, bada boom. We feeling okay? Think we're feeling good, I think. We can get through probably one more question. All right, I think we are good to reveal. 100%. Max, great job. I saw you with the right answer. So, yeah, just to quickly go over it. 3 labels. 3 pounds of flour to make 2 loaves. You're making 16 loaves, and 3 pounds makes 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 3 times 8, 24. So I think we are just out of time now. We got to make sure we have time for closing. So I'm going to shut off the quiz. We're going to do all that. And Jahangir, would you like to join me back down here?
Yep.
Awesome. Ooh, I'm the big man. I am the big man on the big screen. Yippee. So yeah. Anybody have any last minute questions? Any burning desires they want to know about in terms of math?
We'll give you guys about 2 minutes to put in any questions.
Checking YouTube as we go as well. Okay, not seeing any questions in the YouTubes either. If we don't have any questions, gonna just give you guys a couple of words of advice as someone who has gone through a bit of this myself. Make sure when you get into the test, your first priority needs to be that you breathe. If you panic and you panic yourself through all the questions, you're gonna trip up just on the fact that you are panicking, which is a very human emotion. But take a minute, take a few seconds, do some box breathing, take care of yourself, all of that. Which number questions tend to be the hardest? Jahangir, do you have any answers for that?
What do you mean by that question? Which number of questions tend to be hard?
I feel like it's so hard to be like, which ones are the hardest? Because that is such a subjective thing. I love probability. It's so good for me. I'm very good at it. That I know so many people in my grade at Bowdoin that are like, I hate statistics, and if you make me, which number questions tend to be, which number question? I put the tonal inflection. I believe the SAT gets harder as it goes.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, confirm. Okay. Yeah, so later it goes, the harder the questions are going to get. Your first ones are going to be easier. Take less time on those. Make sure you save up sometimes the end questions. Also, if you're here tonight and you're not part of cram mode, you should definitely be part of cram mode, because we're going to be doing full week-long streams, not as in 24 hours, but as in every night. 2 hours for the first 4 days, 3 hours for the last night. 3 hours for the last night. Go over everything you need to know for the exam. So if you're not already part of cram mode, I might suggest that you become, in fact, part of cram mode. Here's our schedule for that. October 30th through November 3rd, we're doing stream after stream after stream after stream. Halloween, spend the spooky season with us, learning grammar. I can't think of a better way to spend Halloween, personally. Just saying. But yeah, with all that, become part of cram mode. Follow us on social media. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok, on the LinkedIn, on the Instagram, whatever you need. All right? Good luck, you guys. You guys got this. Y'all are going to rock the exam. We hope to see you guys for the crams. But if we don't, know that you're going to rock this, or not tonight, when the exam comes. Any last minute words?
No, you said it best. I can't say it even better. All right, guys. Have a good night. See you guys in the next one.
See you guys at the next stream. Adios.